Alrighty then, we are back live with our big 40th edition of Johnny Torch Live. This week we're going to be doing a Torch News Roundup as well. That is Torch News Roundup number 71 for you kids paying attention at home, keeping score as you will. Uh, Still haven't seen The Last Jedi, so that review is off for a couple of more days, unfortunately. Um, just gotta wait for the right time, and then I'll spring it on an unsuspecting public. But until then, we've got enough stuff to talk about. I think that'll cover the next hour. We're doing a This Week in Comic Book Television segment as well. We've got the gifted mid-season finale to cover. We also have episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that I didn't get to last week and this week's episode. No MacGyver this week, didn't get to it. But again, still enough for a full show. All right, so once again, thank you for joining us. And we're going to start off with another little segment I like to call Johnny's NFL Football Picks of the Week. This is where I regale you with my picks from this week in the NFL. All right, let's take a look at how I did last week. Last week, 8-8 week, not really all that great. Bringing me up to a 130 wins and 78 losses tally on the season standings. It's a good, reputable mark, I think, to be well above the Mendoza line. All right, we've got Week 15 in the NFL. Let's see. First up, I took the Broncos over the Colts. That, of course, turned out to be the smart move. I'm taking the Lions over the Bears, which I believe, is that game started yet? I don't know. I've been working on this live broadcast, getting it ready for the past hour. I don't even know if it's... I'm going with the Chargers over the Chiefs game. We've got two teams of pretty much equal strength. And I don't know, the Chiefs are now on the upswing after a pretty miserable falling off the wagon, and we've got Phil Rivers trying to keep the Chargers afloat. I think that'll be a good game. I took the Dolphins over the Bills. Dolphins still riding high over that victory over the Patriots, but Bills are no pushovers. I don't know. Going with the Panthers over the Packers. Going with the Ravens over the Browns, of course. Ravens are the former Browns. Kind of feel bad for the Cleveland fans because their team basically went and became the Ravens, won a Super Bowl, and ended up, you know, leaving the legacy of Cleveland behind them. Maybe someday Cleveland will come out to play. Who knows? I'm going with the Jaguars over the Texans. I'm going with the Vikings over the Bengals. I'm going with the Saints over the Jets. I'm taking the Eagles over the Giants. I'm taking the Redskins over the Cardinals. That's another close one that could probably go either way. Rams over the Seahawks. Another close one. I don't know. That one probably has playoff implications, though, so I don't know how that's going to turn out. I'm going with the Patriots over the Steelers, of course. That's going to be probably the game of the week. Patriots took a loss last week, so they're now below the Steelers in the AFC pecking order. I'm taking the 49ers over the Titans. I'm going to side with Jimmy Garoppolo on this one. I think he's going to be able to probably pull out a couple more wins in garbage time here before the season's over. I'm taking the Cowboys over the Raiders. Another one that probably could go either way. And I'm taking the Falcons over the Buccaneers on Monday night. So there you have another installment of Johnny's NFL Football Picks of the Week. And comments if you are going to leave your picks for this week in the NFL, big week 15. All right, let us begin now with our Torch News Roundup number 71. Now, for those of you who haven't tuned in the past couple of weeks, what's wrong with you? Go back and watch last week's episode. That was a great episode. um, I'm operating off two laptops, so I'm using the old one to record and broadcast, and I'm using the new one for my notes. So if I am turning the audio backwards and forwards, maybe that'll explain the reason why. Also, some of the sound quality, has been suspect in the past few weeks, but since I've used the old laptop, it's been considerably better. All right, so with all the explanations out of the way, here is the poll of the week question that I've been running on my Twitter page, and it is completed its run. And the question was, of Warner Brothers DCEU's four proposed films set to feature Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, which would you most like to see made? I got 126 votes, one of the most popular polls I've done, I'm not ashamed to admit. Um, in fourth place, we had Joker Loves Harley, which is the proposed film about the Joker and Harley. That was my pick, really, to be honest with you. I think the Joker Well, I think Harley needs the Joker. I think there's more fun to be had if they actually explored the relationship that they have that was animated series. Of course, we didn't get quite that relationship in the Suicide Squad, but they've got a chance to delve a bit more into that and show a more accurate take on their relationship. Okay, in third place, we had the Harley Quinn solo movie that Margot Robbie herself is producing and putting together. In second place, with 23% of the vote, Suicide Squad 2, which is the only one actually getting greenlit as of now, and the number one movie starring Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn that you, the viewers, have chosen is Gotham City Sirens, the proposed film that is going to team her up with Poison Ivy, Catwoman, potentially a whole host of others that haven't really been announced. Um, so once again, 13% Joker Loves Harley, 20% Harley Quinn solo movie, 23% Suicide Squad 2, and 44% for Gotham City Sirens. I don't have a new poll up yet as of now, but you can check my Twitter page by the link in the description, and if if before Christmas I come up with another poll, I'm sure you'll find it there. Sometimes I let a week or two pass before we, put another one up. Look at our main topic for the evening. We got a lot of stuff to get to, so let's get to it and not lollygag around. Up, we've got the cover story here of releasing another new picture, their upcoming series that has still yet to be announced where this series will premiere on some streaming service that Warner Brothers has yet to announce. This is Hawk and Dove as they will appear on Titans. And I gotta say, it looks very, very impressive. And, for a series that I was willing to give a pass because I don't want to get another streaming service, I don't even stick with Netflix long after I get through watching whatever Marvel show is up, which I still haven't seen Punisher, by the way, but that's probably gonna have to wait till next year. But they have done a spot on job of capturing the costumes, as we saw last week, or was it 2 weeks ago, that they released the Robin costume for Brandon Thwaites, and it just looked like it stepped straight from the page of the comics. And the same is the case here for Hawk and Dove. Hawk played by Alan Ritchson, and Dove played by the lovely Minka Kelly. Yeah, if you've ever seen the comic version of Hawk and Dove, which maybe not many have, it really is a faithful representation. A lot of people were kind of concerned about the casting of Starfire because they didn't think she was going to look the same. They didn't think that they would make up the actress who was black with the orange makeup to make her look like Starfire. So far, the Titans showrunners have been doing everything right. They've pretty much made this look like it stepped straight from the pages of the comics. So maybe we should have uh, a little less negativity surrounding this particular franchise? I don't know. We still have Beast Boy we haven't seen yet either. Beast Boy and Starfire, the two prominent Titans cast members that we haven't seen yet in costume. But really, yeah, it looks very impressive. And there has been, of course, rumors that Hawk and Dove, if the audience responds well to them, will be spun off into their own show. Um, I'm I've got my hopes really raised since the past couple of weeks on this show. So, what do you think? Is this going to be a success? Is this going to be what pretty much comic fans have wanted from DC all along? Of course, about their cinematic universe, and some, even though I'm largely supportive of the CW DC TV universe, there has been grumblings, rumblings against how they've kind of moved away from the comic incarnations to some extent. Obviously with Green Arrow marrying Felicity, a character that was, you know, just had the vaguest of notoriety in the comics. Are they stepping in the right direction here? And is this a good omen for the future of DC properties and live action? Let me know, and I am looking forward to this. Hopefully, we'll get some news on when this is going to be debuting, this series, because as of now, still no release date set. All right, so let me know what you think about Hawk and Dove in the comments below. Next up, let us tackle, or let's tackle another subject here from DC in the movie division. We have a couple of more actors being cast for the Shazam motion picture. Uh, this is, let me see, Ian Chen on the left, Eugene Choi, and David J. McNeil, excuse me, as um, Mr. Is this correct, Mr. Breyer? I don't know. I don't know if I have the right notes here, or it could be. Let's see, Jovan Armand as Pedro Pena. This has been an exercise in tongue twisters. But anyway, there they are. These are the friends of Billy Batson, the childhood friends of Billy Batson. Billy Batson, of course, is going to be played by Asher Angel, which sounds like a stage name, but I don't know if that's a stage name. And Jack Dylan Grazer, who's playing Freddie Freeman, aka Captain Marvel Jr. This sounds like it's shaping up to be the Annie of superhero movies. I mean, I can see these guys just scrubbing floors singing "It's a Hard Knock Life" because we've got such a young cast, and that's like box office poison usually to a lot of people. I don't know why, because I like to see it, done accurately. But that's the story of Shazam, and they are treating it very accurately, where Billy Batson is an orphan. It goes back to that Depression era, like Little Orphan Annie, like Popeye, where it was the scrappy underdog that doesn't have any money and is just working their way to make ends meet. Billy Batson eventually becomes a radio broadcaster. I don't know how they're going to handle that here, because this apparently is going to be set in the modern day. I don't think they're setting this in the 1930s or so, but that's basically what Billy Batson's job was eventually. And it's interesting to wonder what they're going to do with this franchise going forward, if it's going to spawn sequels, and how they're going to deal with Billy Batson getting older, because he was, basically 10 years old all his life in the comics. It's an interesting scenario. Of course, we also have Zachary Levi as Shazam himself once he transforms with one magic word. And it's rumored that Mark Strong is going to play Sylvana, Dr. Sylvana to you. That hasn't been confirmed, but apparently that is what, the gossip mill has been running with. So that's interesting. More interesting still, we have another member of the Shazam casted, if that is if that is correct grammar, of, let's see here, lovely Grace Fulton playing possibly Mary Marvel. This hasn't been confirmed, but it has been confirmed by Grace that she is cast in the movie. Uh, but who else can she be but Mary Marvel? She looks in Mary Marvel to look like. We got a picture of her there in that dress that kind of would reflect what she'll look like in the costume if they give her the comic accurate costume, of course, if they don't put dark nylons on her a la Supergirl. But she looks like she'll be a great choice for this role. Familiar with her and anything else. I'm not sure exactly what she's done before this, but it has been confirmed that she'll be in the movie. Um, I believe she's 21, which is probably the age Mary Marvel is because she's supposed to be somewhat older than Billy Batson. That's another reason we can kind of figure this is who she's playing. Um, I always found that interesting that she's the oldest of the kids and she's like a sidekick. Again, I'm not an expert or an authority on Shazam and Shazam lore, but from what I remember as a kid, basically she was like the older sister to everybody in the orphanage or wherever it is that they reside. I know in some versions Billy Batson resides in a cardboard box. I don't think they're gonna go there. Of course, the story's been tweaked, several times over the course of the decades since Shazam has been created. But what do you think about this? Grace Fulton playing possibly Mary Marvel, not confirmed yet. But I think that looks like a good cast that they're shaping up here to have for Shazam. I'm looking forward to this one. This one, of course, won't be out until I believe. And speaking of casting dates, let's take a look here. Now, they've released the shooting date for Suicide Squad 2. Suicide Squad 2, of course. They're moving production back to October 2018 for them to begin shooting because apparently um, Will Smith. I couldn't think of his name, Will Smith. How can you not remember Will Smith's name? Anyhow, apparently Will Smith is going to be in a movie with Ang Lee. I'm forgetting the name of the movie, but that's understandable. Who's remembered anything Ang Lee's done since Hulk? But of course, he's doing Genie and Aladdin. He's a busy man, He's a very busy man, and so they're moving the shooting schedule down. Unfortunately for us, that means a longer wait until we see Harley Quinn return. But at least the movie has been greenlit, and we're going to talk about that a little later on. Uh, Tell me what you think. Suicide Squad 2. It came in second on our poll, so yeah, enough people are interested in it, but I don't know if that means they're gonna have the whole cast back. I'd like to see Captain Boomerang come back. They're gonna add in a few more characters, but he's the one that kind of got the shaft last time because, well, I mean, he didn't get nothing out of this movie. I mean, Harley got an espresso machine, and you know, Deadshot got to visit his daughter. Captain Boomerang got nothing. I want to see the revenge of Captain Boomerang. I don't know what the story's gonna be about, but it's being rumored that it's gonna involve Black Adam, and that's how they're gonna introduce Black Adam into the DCEU if they're still calling it that. But it's interesting that that probably will set up the Shazam franchise for another sequel because as we've heard so far, Black Adam is only going to be in the Suicide Squad 2 last act. Then he's supposed to get a solo movie, all starring The Rock, of course, as Black Adam, and then will be the villain for Shazam, which is basically his greatest claim to fame. So interesting to see what they're doing here. And let me know what you think about Suicide Squad 2 in the comments below. All right, we still have more casting news around up here. It has been revealed that has been cast, or at least he's in discussions here. But I don't think there's much this film is already shooting, so he's probably already been cast. But Woody Harrelson has joined the Venom movie. Tom Hardy starring as Venom, also starring Riz Ahmed and Michelle Williams, with Ruben Fleischer directing. No word yet on who he's playing. Now, I was saying that maybe Riz Ahmed would play Cletus Cassidy, but to be honest, wouldn't Woody Harrelson fit that role a lot better? Cletus Cassidy, a serial killer. I mean, Woody Harrelson was born to play a serial killer. So maybe he'd play Carnage. So that's what I'm thinking maybe this is. The rumors are he will be playing a henchman of sorts. That's what I've got here. But of course, it's only rumor. I don't know. Would be interesting to see him play Carnage because, of course, if you're going to have Venom fight anybody, it's probably going to be Carnage. I mean, who the heck else is he going to fight if he's not fighting Spider-Man? Of course, because it's been confirmed Tom Holland's Spider-Man is not going to be in the film. But we need a villain if Venom is going to be the anti-hero that pushing him towards, which he's been in the comics. And so I'm thinking it's going to be Carnage. They're saying also that it's going to reflect like a lot of symbiotes in this film. I don't remember the run of the comics where it's sort of like the invasion of the symbiotes or something, and Venom was cast sort of in a heroic light in that series. Apparently, again, I don't know really too much about Venom's comic incarnations, but yeah. So, who do you think Woody Harrelson is playing? Do you think he should play Carnage, Cletus Cassidy? One of the great comic book names, Cletus Cassidy. And let me know in the comments below about that one. All right, a controversial subject coming up here. Controversy time. Controversial subject I'm going to address here. We've got the director of Creed 2. The new director of Creed 2. Stephen Capel Jr. or Stephen Capel Jr. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce his name. He's going to be taking over director duties for Creed 2 since Sylvester Stallone stepped down from what was potentially going to be his movie. Stallone wrote the script for Creed 2. Of course, Ryan Coogler directed the original. And of course, he is executive producing this, but he had to step away in the final stages of production of The Black Panther. Uh, the word is Stallone considered directing Creed 2, but after talking it over with Michael B. Jordan and the executives, they made the decision to find another director. Now, basically, this is just politely saying Stallone's white. Dramatic pause for emphasis. That is pretty much what this means. Now, who else should direct Rocky or a film in a Rocky franchise than Sylvester Stallone? There really is no other reason for him to step away from this project other than they obviously wanted a black director because obviously the main protagonist in the film is Adonis Johnson slash Creed, who is black, and they want to not make it look like they're taking the job away from a black director about a black character and franchise. And so they wouldn't let Stallone direct. They're giving it to another black director. Supposedly, Stallone gave his blessing to Capel Jr. and, you know, personally handpicked him as his successor. But again, this just smacks of racism, where they were afraid there was going to be an uproar. They were afraid there was going to be a brouhaha. They were afraid there was going to be thrown at Stallone and the franchise in general and all people involved because they went from Ryan Coogler to Sylvester Stallone. And, once you start a franchise with a black director, you're going to have to keep the franchise with a black director. Of course, that's racist, and that shouldn't really be the case, but that's the way Hollywood is doing it these days. Um, in some instances, I can understand it. I mean, Black Panther, you know, it should be directed by a black director. Wonder Woman, they had Patty Jenkins direct it because they wanted a woman to direct Wonder Woman, a story about Amazons, basically an island full of women. It's understandable to an extent. I don't think that really flies here, though, because, like I said, not only did Stallone create the Rocky franchise and the Rocky character, and the Rocky character is in the movie, but we're not talking about, like, a predominantly black cast of, like Black Panther of an African nation. We're talking about basically a human drama. And I think Stallone, especially since he wrote the film, should be able to communicate a human drama regardless of race. So again, I think that they were sidestepping controversy, but they really have controversy that only a few people, such as myself, will probably point out because, I ain't no stranger to controversy. I ain't no stranger to giving the honest opinion that no one's gonna like to hear. But and again, this is nothing against Stephen Caple Jr. I hope he does a good job, a great job, and I'm still looking forward to Creed 2 very much, and I'm dying to hear some of the casting announcements because, of course, we're hearing that it's going to involve Ivan Drago in some capacity, either as the actual boxer that Creed fights in this film, or maybe the father of his opponent. So this is going to come out next year in November, and shooting is set to begin, I believe, early in 2018. So let me know what you think about Creed 2. Do you think this is a controversy? You think I'm reading too much into it? Let me know what you think in comments below. And, haven't gotten a whole lot of comments lately, so I'm eager to read some old comments. I mean, read some new comments and, interact with y'all a little bit more than we have in the past couple of months when I haven't gotten many comments at all. All right, so we'll move on now to our next story. This is exciting news. Knows it. I'm probably the last to talk about it, but Disney has acquired Fox film division. That's right, Mickey Mouse is now stepping into the 20th Century Fox lot and taking over. We talked about this for basically the past 2 weeks, so I really don't have anything else to say about this. Um, as I said, I think in last week's the Johnny Torch Live number 39, where Hugh Jackman sort of is backing away now from saying that he'll play Wolverine again should they offer it to him. I think he has to do that because I'm pretty sure Marvel probably isn't going to ask him back. They didn't ask Andrew Garfield back, and it's a little bit different in that case because Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man was pretty lousy. Everybody pretty much hated the second one. A lot of people hated the first one. I was the opposite. I hated the first one. Second one was all right, but it wasn't good enough to justify keeping that franchise. They ruined the Green Goblin. They ruined Harry Osborn's Goblin. They did the Gwen death reasonably well. I mean, that was probably the only thing that was for that franchise, that they had Emma Stone play a great Gwen Stacy, and they had her die pretty much in keeping with the comic book version. Of course, it was supposed to be Norman Osborn killing her, not Harry, but so it was understandable, and nay, it was a relief when they broomed that whole franchise. Um, but there's also problems with Marvel didn't really do a bang up job on Spider-Man in their MCU, at least in my opinion. A lot of people will praise it and, Homecoming as a great film. I wasn't entirely thrilled with it. And Tom Holland is great. I don't mind him. I mean, he's a great Spider-Man and he's a great Peter Parker. Everything that surrounds him though is not up to specs. They completely ruined his supporting cast, which is one of the greatest supporting casts in comic book history. They completely ruined it. They still have yet to introduce some important characters like Harry and, Gwen Stacy, but they have Betty Brant looking like Gwen Stacy. They have a MJ that's not Mary Jane. They have Genki from Miles Morales as Ned Leeds. I mean, I've gone over this a million times, and They have Aunt May being way too young and a source of comedy. Didn't do right by Spider-Man in the MCU. So that leads me to wonder, how are they going to handle the Fantastic Four? Because the Fantastic Four is also, once again, damaged goods, the same way Spider-Man was. Spider-Man started promising with the Raimi franchise with Tobey Maguire, got put through the ringer, and then the Andrew Garfield franchise was not any better with Mark Webb, and they basically had to salvage it by putting a new spin on it. Now, the same thing applies here with Fantastic Four. Are they going to try to do something, quote unquote, something different with the Fantastic Four now that they have them in the fold? Because it's comparable to Spider-Man. They started out promising with the Tim Story films, didn't really hit the spot for a lot of people, and they sat on the project for a couple of years. They brought it back with the um, Michael B. Jordan version with I can't remember the director right now. Trask was his name. I can't remember, but he potentially was trying to take the franchise into a more darker, like horror genre. And of course, it's come to be known as fanforstic, which has become the biggest disaster of the comic book genre in the past. So they obviously are dealing with damaged goods now, and if Kevin Feige is going to react the same way he reacted to Spider-Man coming into the MCU, he might drastically alter the look of the Fantastic Four, which is something that concerns me greatly. We all know Feige's the man, but he drops the ball once in a while, a little bit here and there, and this could be a case where he does that. I want to see a very accurate to the comic. I want to see Doctor Doom in all his glory, and of course, if anything, they're not going to sit on Doctor Doom for long. They're going to bring Doctor Doom to the forefront because he is one of the premier villains of the Marvel Universe. They're going to bring out Galactus. They're going to probably utilize Silver Surfer, probably in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. There's a lot to look forward to, but accurate representation of the ever-loving blue-eyed Thing. The Thing has to return to prominence in the MCU or the MC, the Marvel universe, because of course the comic division has pretty much closed the Baxter building, so to speak. And we want to get the Thing back to popularity. We want to get the Human Torch back to popularity. Of course, you know, the great talent of Chris Evans was part of the appeal, I think, Fantastic Four films with Tim Story. They're going to have to get somebody that's going to be as charismatic as him. Um, they're probably going to get a Disney Channel cast and possibly a CGI thing, but they really need to tackle this as a comic representation of the Fantastic Four. I don't want them to do what they did with Spider-Man. I don't want them to remake them in a new and better format that's modern and up to date and today. Well, when they changed the relationship of Johnnie and Sue in Fanforstic, you can't monkey around with the Fantastic Four. The world's greatest comic magazine. They're called that for a reason. Yeah, originally it was Stan just hyping them up, but they are the first family of Marvel. They are the first superhero franchise in. It all starts there. It started with them off, and created a whole bunch of others. But Stan and Jack with the Fantastic Four is where it all begins. They need to do their due diligence here with the Fantastic Four. Get it right. Get it right, Kevin Feige, because there's no more screwing around with this. You got to get this right. Otherwise, the Fantastic Four is going to be a lost brand. It's going to be ruined beyond recognition if you can't prop it back up. Of course, we'll talk briefly here. We're talking a little bit longer than I was going to about this subject, but we'll talk a little bit briefly here about the X-Men's role now. A lot of the plans that Fox had for the X-Men are now in the lurch. There was supposed to be a X-Force movie. Again, nobody knows what's going to happen with that. A Gambit movie, probably not going to happen. Um, the future of Deadpool and the X-Men franchise as we know it with Dark Phoenix on the way. supposedly safe, but we don't know where it's going to be taken after these two movies are released, Deadpool 2 and Dark Phoenix. But they will be released. Uh, I imagine Disney's probably going to want to do the same thing with the X-Men. They're going to want to fold it into the universe. They're not going to want to take the timeline and try to apply it to the already existing Marvel universe. The problem with that is, see, I might not even have a problem with them folding the X-Men into the Marvel universe because there's a lot of ways you can go about that. You could make it like a parallel Earth, which I don't like that idea because that smacks very much of what they're doing with Supergirl and the CW, where it all exists on another Earth, and then when Avengers comes around, they'll apparently pluck the X-Men and the Fantastic Four from the other Earth and stuff. Nah, I don't want that. Another way they could do it is have the Infinity Gauntlet story change things, where mutants who were once hiding maybe are now becoming to the forefront. That with the Inhumans um, didn't really succeed. All the more now we're not going to see the Inhumans. I think that's unfortunately dead and buried. I know a story from last week that I didn't cover, but Ming-Na Wen was in a convention and she spoke to the question somebody asked if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. would have a crossover with TV series. And she sort of began saying, "Isn't that show?" So, it's pretty much for all intents and purposes canceled. And I think the Inhumans are going to go away for a long time. Um, what will happen with the X-Men? I don't know. It's an interesting question on how they're going to fold them into the universe. They'll probably, like I said, what they should do is in the wake of the Avengers Infinity War, start to slowly bring them out, bring them to the forefront. And it's interesting because maybe they could do something with that with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That might give the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV show a boost, the boost that they need. All right. Um, Also, we have to remember here that it's going to be interesting because, again, a week or two ago, that Kevin Feige has plans for 20 new movies upcoming after what? After Ant-Man and the Wasp. One of those movies now, several of those movies could be X-Men movies. It could be X-Men. It could be offshoots of X-Men, such as Wolverine. If they're smart, you know what they'll do? They'll take the X-Men franchise and just make the animated series. Just make the animated series. Take those scripts, shoot live action movies. That's what they should do. Probably recast Wolverine. We'll finally get the Wolverine versus the Hulk and shoulders with Captain America. We'll get all that stuff. Phase 4. I think that's what's going to be the big, you know, the big groundwork laid for the continuation of the phases. And that's just what Marvel needed. That's why this happened at the right time, because if it's true that Captain America and Iron Man are going away and we're going to have like Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange as our anchors of the, you know, MCU, we're going to need some more heavy hitters. Introduce Fantastic Four, make them your centerpiece. Sprinkle the X-Men around, build them up from the ground up. Slowly at first, because Marvel takes their time. Kevin Feige takes his time. That's how we got where we are now. Build the X-Men up gradually. Focus more on the Fantastic Four here. Let people cool off from the X-Men for a little while. Just start building it up in the movies. The way you name dropped Stephen Strange and the way, these little things started sprouting here and there. Do that for the X-Men. Concentrate on Fantastic Four. Bring in Silver Surfer. Bring in, to the Galaxy. That's how you introduce Silver Surfer. All that stuff. Bring it all in. And, the sky's the limit from here on. All right, let me know what you think about the Disney Fox acquisition in the comments below. Okay, we're also going to take a look here now before we wrap up and go to This Week in Comic Book Television. We're going to look at the DCEU. Their plans, they made their intentions well known here. All right, we have, it's been released. These are the films, not necessarily in the order that I'm reading them here, but these are the films that are either A, already made, B, going to be made because they're in pre-production, or C, they intend to make because it's become a priority for them. All right, here's the list. First off, Aquaman, it's safe because it's basically done shooting. It's in the can. They're going to release that 1 year from this month. They still intend to do Flashpoint. That has not gone away. A lot of people are saying this is where they're going to, you know, the DC cinematic universe, make things a little bit different and punch it up and make it sort of their phase two. I think that's a good idea. They should make it their phase two. I don't think they should go too crazy where a lot of people are speculating how they're going to recast Batman. Just recast him. Just recast him. People are used to this. Just recast him. Don't play around with it. Justice League Dark. That could be another way where they could, fool around, fiddle around with their universe. I think that's the reason why they have them so high up on the priority list. Justice League Dark is the one I'm least interested in because I'm not all that enamored with those characters. You've got mm, Swamp Thing, um, Dead Man. I think Zatanna maybe might be even in it, even though I like Zatanna, I'd like to see her in something else other than Justice League Dark. Um, but I don't know. That's still part of it. I would rather see Justice League, but Justice League, unfortunately, is not a priority for them. Surprise, surprise. So we're going to be sitting on that, Deathstroke, Legion of Doom storyline. Hopefully they'll bring it back. I don't know. Wonder Woman 2 is, of course, a priority because Wonder Woman, the first film, was such a big success. Suicide Squad 2, as we heard, is also a priority because, they that was moderately successful. It was a success, even though people want to try to downplay its success. It was successful. Shazam, of course, as we already said as well, is also way into casting. They're going to be shooting soon. The Green Lantern Corps is going to be made. That is something I'm excited about because I'd like to see what they're going to do with the Green Lantern Corps. Seeing the little brief glimpse we did in Justice League was, and again, from what we hear, it's going to sound. It sounds like it's going to be good. They're going to do a buddy cop film, which is going to star apparently Hal Jordan and John Stewart, which would be, probably the best, you know, lanterns to use if you're going to use more than one. Most. He's got to be. You got to start with Hal Jordan, just like you got to start with Barry Allen. You don't start with John Stewart. A lot of people wanted to start with John Stewart. You don't start with John Stewart. You start with Hal Jordan. Then in the sequels, maybe if go in a different direction. But I think the idea of a Green Lantern Corps makes the most sense because there are so many lanterns, and there are so many things in the galaxy that's possible with the Green Lanterns. You don't just want to pigeonhole yourself to just do Hal Stewart on Earth. Hal Stewart, Hal Jordan on Earth, because that's kind of what they were doing with the Ryan Reynolds film. And I think that's another reason why people didn't respond to it as well. You start with Hal Jordan on Earth, and then you move on to the Green Lantern Corps, where you can explore all the kinds of lanterns, the blue lanterns, the red lanterns. A lot of fun to be had that way. And then you bring in, of course, you know, John Stewart, you know, Kyle Rayner. There's just so many of them, and that's the right way to do it. Of course, the Batman is still in the works. Matt Reeves has been in charge of that for some time. Apparently, going to be starring a new Batman actor. That's where that's going to be introduced. And I'm happy to hear this. They are still intending to produce the Batgirl solo movie. No real. Joss Whedon was attached to it. Then there was that, you know, controversy about his ex-wife, and he went away, and they're probably not going to use him for Batgirl if they use him at all. Although he's the one that really saved Justice League. He made his mark on the Avengers with the first Avengers film. He really saved Justice League from the mediocrity of Zack Snyder. I didn't like what he did with Age of Ultron, so I mean he's not batting 1,000, but you know I think he deserved another shot at another comic book film. Batgirl probably would have been right up his alley, but who knows? I don't know. Who they're going to get to direct this, but I'd love to see a Batgirl film. I would love to see um J.K. Simmons' return as Commissioner Gordon in that film, interaction with some of the other characters such as Batman, maybe Nightwing. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Batgirl. But again, here are some of the films that are not being listed as priorities. There was going to be a Nightwing film, apparently not going to be made right away. Uh, Man of Steel 2. When is Superman going to get his next film? I don't know. This has been how many years now since Man of Steel that he hasn't gotten a sequel? Finish up the arc that was going on in the Justice League films, bring them back. There, of course, there's the other three Harley Quinn projects that they don't have here. The Joker Loves Harley, the Gotham City Sirens that was supposed to be, I think David Ayer was supposed to take on that one, and Margot Robbie's own Harley Quinn solo movie. None of them are apparently here. And there was also the Joker origin film that we had uh, Scorsese was supposed to do. Again, I don't really want that one, so I don't care if that one's gone, but that's not nowhere to be found either. So, what do you think about this list? Are these the films you want to see DCEU produce? And what about all the people out there that have egg on their face now that were saying reboot, reboot? Remember that that YouTube clip that was so funny? John Campia and so many others just crying reboot, reboot. No, you couldn't reboot. You had too many irons in the fire that were working to start over from scratch. They already made their bed, so to speak, Warner Brothers, when they moved on past Man of Steel. Man of Steel was terrible. Down with Batman v Superman. People didn't like that either, and they sort of half-heartedly kept Zack Snyder in the mix. Now it's like, move on to Phase 2. Let's establish and go in a more positive direction. I think that was apparent in Justice League. They just move on with that. Keep the fire, going. Keep the flame burning brightly, as someone once very famously said. And just go from there. A lot of people don't want to lose this cast. You don't want to lose Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. You don't want to lose Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. A lot of people don't want to lose, Ben Affleck, but I think he's taking himself out of the equation. Don't want to lose Henry Cavill now that he's finally been allowed to play Superman, the way that we all know and love. And of course, Jason Momoa was great as Aquaman. It's not the cast's fault that the brain trust hasn't pushed the DCEU in the right direction. So I think they're making the right call here. All right, so let us move on now, and we will wrap it up. So thank you for tuning in if you are interested here only in the Torch News Roundup. We do the Torch News Roundup as much as possible. Try to add it into the comic book television, which is our next segment. This week on This Week in Comic Book Television, we have 2 episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Do last week's. So let's try to run through these quick. And okay, so as we begin here, this is the 4th. Gemma is still in the employ of the Kree, and she can't hear unless the Kree Jared Leto speaks to her. Now, his name is Cassius, I believe. Phil, Mac, and Yo-Yo are still slaves working for Grill. Phil, Mac, and May and Tess go on a mission with Grill's second-in-command. They try to uncover Virgil's mystery. They take out the chief second. I can't remember his name, but Grill's chief second. And they get caught, but Yo-Yo gets them off by putting the blame on the chief second. Zev, I think was his name. Is that it? Yes. Okay. Gemma is tasked with an inhuman named Abby. Powers. Abby's made to fight in an arena against a powerful challenger. At Gemma's urgings, she's able to use her density powers properly and ends up killing him. Yo-Yo gets her metrically placed with a replacement by Daisy. I don't know how that's going to work out. Deke tries to stop her, and she takes out 2 Kree in an elevator, which was a pretty good scene. She ended up getting gassed and caught by Cassius. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Apparently being betrayed by Deke. The end is the tag from last year where Coulson wakes up, goes to work. The team tries to unscramble the broadcast from Earth, and the Earth is being covered by beasties, at least what's left of the Earth. So this was a good episode. It was a good pot boiler. It kind of gave us a little more information about what's going on. Um, I'll give it 4 stars out of 5. That's 4 stars out of 5 for episode 4 of this season's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. All right, we'll move on now to episode 5. Cassius Quake, at the beginning of the episode. We'll find out a little more about that later. Quake meets a telepathic inhuman, which I don't think we ever found out his name. I try to catch their names. I try to write them down. I don't know. Cassius uses him to verify Quake and Gemma's story, and thankfully he covers for them. Cassius tasks Deke with finding more time travelers, now that he only thinks, well, he thinks that Daisy and Gemma's the only ones, but he tasks Deke with finding others. Can we trust Deke? Well, we'll soon find out. Coulson and May find Deke, who agrees to help them get into level 35. They find out about Deke's deal, and they separate when Deke is injured, with May facing Basha, which is a cool fight that I don't really know what happened at the end of that. Did May get taken prisoner? I don't remember what happened there. I think May lost, didn't she? That was interesting. And the man on the other end of the radio on the Earth is his father. That was pretty interesting turn of events. Weld him into a room there so he can't get out. Meanwhile, the subplot of Mac and Yo-Yo finds Mac being an enforcer to Grill. He confronts Gunner, who turns out was protecting a baby and not holding out money on Grill. At the end, was a nice scene of Mac grappling with losing the framework Hope, because he actually got to know her, his daughter, in the framework. And, he's a good actor. It's a good, nice, tender scene there. Oh, and the episode ends, which is very cool, as they prepare for Quake's gladiatorial debut. Fitz shows up. I was wondering, because, you forget after like 2 episodes, but this episode I was remembering it, and I was saying, when is Fitz going to show up? At the end, he comes in with a mask on his face, and apparently next week we'll find out how he got there with the help of Hunter. Hunter's return next week. Flashback episode, which will detail what happened to him, sort of like they did with Gemma last season. Oh no, it was 2 seasons ago with the otherworldly adventure she had, a whole episode to her own. So apparently, also they took from Quake, they want to breed Inhumans, and they take Inhuman blood and try to breed them in that way because that's the only PG way they're going to do it in in Marvel's Agents of Shield. But this was a very good episode. I really liked this one a lot, and yeah, 4.5 stars out of 5. It gets episode of the week, I believe. Episode of the week. Not too many episodes this week. We had 2 episodes and 3 counting last week's Agents of Shield. That was a great episode. I enjoyed it. Episode 5. All right, so now we move on here to the mid-season finale of The Gifted. They're going on hiatus for a couple of weeks until January, like the CW shows and Gotham. And let's take a brief rundown here of what happened on The Gifted mid-season finale. There is, what's her name? Amza? She's pretty. I always say that. All right, so it starts with a flashback of Asmeth. Is that how you pronounce it? I don't know. Asmeth working for Senator Montez, and she finds out that they're after her because she's almost an inhuman. She's a mutant. Same difference, right? No, it's not same difference. All right. Everybody's butting heads over what to do because Blink, Dreamer, and the Strucker children are Sentinel services. Dreamer has a confrontation with Turner after removing his memories because in the cell there, she didn't realize the pressure she's puts on everybody when she does these thing to them. um, Asmith convinces the Strucker parents to deal with Turner, and she ends up telling Eclipse and Polaris. So she's still playing some kind of game that we don't really know at this point, that she's trying to get people to do her work for her, and we'll find out momentarily. Dreamer and Blink share a nice moment in the prison because, unfortunately, what's going to happen, you'll see. The Strucker kids are taken to the labs for testing. I thought this was cool. The leader there, and I can't remember his name, mentions adamantium from Canada, from British Columbia, which is, of course, a tie-in to Wolverine and Weapon X project that he was in. You all know the story. The kids refuse to join Powers, and the head guy shoots Dreamer dead. So they relent in order to save Blink, which was kind of sad because, Dreamer really had she had an interesting story and interesting powers, and it could have been an interesting future had they kept her on the show. But I understand. I always felt that somebody was going to go down by the end of this, and because they're not going to want to let the stakes remain this low because the X-Men, of course, have always known loss, and members of the team always are dying and having terrible things happen to them with intergalactic them over and stuff. So I knew this was going to be the end for somebody today, but I didn't really know it was going to be her. And she's a good actress. I'm sad to see her go. So the Strucker parents do confront Turner, Agent Turner, and it was very well acted. I really liked the performance of both the guy playing Reed, and I thought Turner and his wife were in that scene. Um, Blink, Jamie Chung just did some heartbreaking acting too in the cell there when she's by herself. That was also nice. Turner does listen to the Strucker parents though and gets transport. The gang, of course, go to work, trusting Asmeth to help them. Asmeth tasers Marcos and has all the agents mind controlled and wrecks them all. She literally wrecks each and every agent, either killing them or having them kill themselves or kill them each other. That was just like Magneto level epicness. That was just a great scene, and I loved that. That made it. So Asmith rescues two other versions of her and frees the other prisoners, and that's how the show ends. So that's pretty interesting. Apparently, Asmith is a multiple woman. Now, I know a multiple man exists in the X-Men franchise, but I don't know, multiple woman. I don't know that character. Multiple man movie that James Franco was supposed to make. I guess that's off the books now. I don't know. Maybe they won't call it multiple man and they'll just have it be another situation comedy, like I said, a stoner comedy. Anyhow, I digress. But anyhow, yeah, this was a great episode of The Gifted, and it left a lot up in the air. We don't really know a lot what's happening. Apparently, the mutants are now safe. She helped them get away, and she's going to try to, from the promo for our next episode, she's going to try to sort of take over, sort of take control, I think, of this mutant fraction and sort of lead the way. I doubt that's going to sit well with Polaris. Oh, yes. So yeah, this was a great episode too. I'm giving this one also 4.5 stars out of 5. Again, it's a tight one between this one and Agents of Shield, but I'm going to give the Gifted mid-season finale 4.5 stars out of 5. So there you have it. Once again, we have another week, another broadcast. What to look forward to in the future? Gonna try to get caught up on MacGyver. Gonna try to stay consistent with Agents of Shield and not miss out on too many episodes because we've got to uh, keep up with this week in comic book television. Going to see The Last Jedi on Tuesday, and I have been spoiler free so far. I am going to continue to be spoiler free if all possible. Wish me luck. The spoiler review that I'll have for The Last Jedi will probably be up on Wednesday, maybe Thursday. It's another one of those things where I don't know if I'm going to do a live broadcast the day after or take some time to actually put together a review. But look for that Last Jedi review next week. I'm really looking forward to seeing that. Until next time, thank you for joining me on the only way to spend your Saturday here with me on Johnny Torch Live. Until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you once again, keep the flame burning brightly, and I'll be with you again real soon.